Imagine checking into a cheap motel off the highway, dead tired, ready to crash. Then at 2 a.m., the knocking starts. A voice outside your door says, "I know you're in there." And when you don't answer, you hear the sound of a knife dragging across the wood.
I was driving cross-country, too tired to make it another 100 miles, when I spotted a neon sign, Motel Vacancy. The place looked old, only a few cars in the lot, but I didn't care. I just needed a bed. The man at the front desk barely looked up when I checked in. He slid me the key to room 6. Inside, the room smelled like mildew. The carpet was stained, and the TV was one of those bulky old models. But the bed looked fine. I locked the door, shoved a chair under the knob, and collapsed. Sometime after 2 a.m., I woke to a sound. At first, I thought maybe it was the room next door, but then it came again, louder. I sat up, heart pounding, staring at the door. Then came the voice. "I know you're in there." I froze. Whoever it was jiggled the handle. It rattled. But the chair held. Then came the sound that haunts me to this day, the long metallic scrape of a blade against the door. Like someone slowly dragging a knife across the wood. I grabbed my phone, dialed 911, whispered to the operator what was happening. All the while, the knocking grew harder, the voice more urgent. "Open up! I'm coming in!" The scraping stopped. Silence. Then, footsteps. Slow, heavy, fading away. I held my breath until I heard sirens in the distance. The police arrived minutes later. We searched the lot. Empty. They checked the security cameras, but here's the part that chills me. The clerk swore nobody else checked into the motel that night, and the camera pointed at my hallway. It showed me going into my room and nothing else. No one ever appeared outside my door. I'll never forget that sound, that blade against the door, because whether it was real or something else, I know someone wanted to get in, and next time, maybe they will. It was almost 1 a.m. when I boarded the overnight bus heading back from a weekend trip. The terminal was nearly empty, and only a handful of people got on with me. I took a seat near the middle, close enough to the driver to feel safe, but far enough back to have some privacy. The bus pulled out of the station, the city lights fading behind us, and soon it was just endless stretches of dark highway. Most of the passengers either fell asleep or stared blankly out the windows. That's when I noticed him, 2 rows behind me, across the aisle. He was sitting perfectly upright, hands folded on his lap, staring straight ahead. I thought nothing of it until an hour passed and he hadn't moved an inch, not once, not a blink. I shifted in my seat, pretending to adjust my jacket, just to glance back at him. His eyes weren't on the window, they were on me. I quickly turned back around, telling myself maybe I imagined it. Maybe he was just zoning out. But the longer the ride went, the heavier the air around me felt. Every time I worked up the courage to check again, his head was slightly tilted, always facing me, always watching. About halfway into the trip, the bus pulled into a rest stop. A few passengers got out to stretch. I did too, just to breathe fresh air. When I got back on, I looked at his seat. It was empty. Relieved, I sat back down, thinking maybe he'd left. But when the bus started moving again, I glanced in the reflection of the dark window beside me. And there he was, sitting directly behind me now. I froze, too terrified to turn around. I could feel his presence, like his face was inches from the back of my head. Finally, I forced myself to look. The seat was empty, but the reflection in the glass was still there. For the rest of the ride, I sat rigid, eyes locked forward, too afraid to blink. I didn't dare check again. When we pulled into the final station, the lights came on. I was the last to get off. I finally looked back. Every seat was empty. But as I stepped off the bus, I caught one last glimpse of the window. And in the glass, a pale face was staring out at me from inside. Even though the bus was empty, I never take the night bus anymore, because sometimes it doesn't matter if you're the only passenger. You're never really alone. It was last fall, around midnight, when I was driving home from visiting a friend. I live in a rural part of the country, and to get back, I had to take a long stretch of highway with nothing but forest on both sides. At first, it felt peaceful, the kind of silence you only notice late at night. No traffic, no noise, just my headlights stretching out into the dark. About 20 minutes into the drive, I noticed a pair of headlights appear in my rearview mirror. Nothing unusual, except that they didn't move. They stayed perfectly behind me, the same distance for miles. I thought maybe it was someone else going home late, maybe another lone driver just like me. But what unsettled me was that they never tried to pass, even when the road opened wide and clear. After a while, I sped up a little. Their lights followed. I slowed down. They slowed too. That's when the feeling of comfort disappeared. I couldn't shake the idea that whoever was back there wasn't just driving. They were watching me. About 10 miles later, the road curved and dipped into a patch of forest where the streetlights were completely gone. Just my beams cutting across the black. And that's when the headlights behind me vanished. No gradual fade, no turnoff. One moment, they were there. The next, it was nothing but darkness. I slowed down, even pulled over onto the shoulder to look. The road was empty. No cars in sight. I waited a minute, then 5. Nothing. So I got back on the road. That should have been the end of it. Just a weird, late-night moment. But a few miles later, I saw something that made my blood run cold. Up ahead, on the side of the road, there was a car parked. Its headlights were on, and it was the same exact glow, the same distance, the same angle I've been seeing in my mirror all night. Except now, the car was facing me. I passed it slowly, trying not to look, but out of the corner of my eye, I saw someone sitting in the driver's seat, just sitting there, perfectly still. When I glanced back in my mirror, the car was gone. There was nothing behind me, nothing ahead, just the empty highway again. I got home that night and told myself I was imagining things. Maybe I was just tired, but sometimes, late at night, when I'm back on that same stretch of road, I still catch the faint reflection of headlights behind me, and I can never tell if they're really there. It was past midnight, fuel gauge nearly empty, when I spotted a lone gas station glowing on the side of the highway. The lot was deserted, except for one pickup truck parked crookedly by the convenience store. I went inside to pay. The attendant looked tired, nervous. As I pulled out my card, he leaned closer and whispered,
"Don't look behind you.
My blood ran cold. I froze.
Don't turn around. Just go back to your car and drive. There's someone standing right behind you,"
he said. I bolted, refusing to look, ran to my car, slammed the door, and floored it. In the rearview mirror, I saw the silhouette of a man step out of the shadows between the pumps. He wasn't holding gas. He was holding a crowbar. By the time I looked back again, the man was gone. The lot was empty, as if no one had ever been there. But I'll never forget the look on the clerk's face, like he'd seen that man before. A few years ago, I took the late-night commuter train home after working overtime. By the final stretch, every passenger had gotten off, except me. When the train pulled into the last station, I stood to leave, but the doors never opened. The lights flickered, the train jolted, and kept moving. I ran to the conductor's car, empty. The train was driving itself. Outside the window, the familiar cityscape vanished, replaced by endless dark tunnels. Minutes turned into an hour. No stops, no announcements, just the clatter of tracks. Then I saw them. In the reflection of the train windows, rows of passengers, dozens of them. But in the seats, empty. Their faces were pale, their mouths moving like they were whispering. I shut my eyes, and when I opened them, the train screeched to a halt. The doors slid open to my stop. I stumbled out, the station empty. To this day, I don't take the last train anymore, because sometimes I wonder if I ever got off at all. Those were 5 true night travel horror stories. Highways, buses, motels, even trains. They remind us that sometimes the road isn't empty, it's waiting. Which of these stories unsettled you the most? Let me know in the comments below. And if you've ever had a terrifying encounter while traveling, on the road, at a stop, or in a place you thought was safe, send it in. You might hear your story in a future episode. Until then, drive safe. And remember, you're never really alone at night.